So, yeah, Lisa is, send to her and she's correct. So, if we didn't have that, I don't know, I grew up with something. I'll let you know as I'm more.
Can't park there till after 5. That might be
I got caught.
You are not. I got a note on my windshield.
You rebels, I could talk to you.
Other way.
This is a test for the emergency broadcast system.
There's something about it. Yes, it is something in there. The turn of weather, I don't know. All right.
The order means.
What time is that, Dawn?
Tomorrow, doors open at 3:30, announcement at 5.
Okay.
Main building.
Yeah, what's that party about?
That's better. Almost like a jack's not all the way in.
It must be 5:30 because it's very quiet. So I'm gonna call this meeting to order, January 27th, 2020, regular city council meeting. Will I, allow city clerk, please call the roll.
Russ Brown, Darcy Long Curtis,
Present.
Rod Runyon,
Present.
Linda Miller,
Here.
Tim McLaughlin,
Present.
Mayor Mays.
Here. And I'd like to ask Counselor Linda Miller to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you all join me for the pledge of allegiance?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under approval of the agenda, we do have one change. We've added an item called 11A, and it's called the Cirrhosis Reservoir Repairs Addendum. And as a result of the new 11A, all items 11 and 12 need to be renumbered. So the action items will now be 12, 12A, and 12B, and adjournment will be item 13. With that, could I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is presentations. 5A is partnership for the Gorge Commission 2020 update for economic vitality. That would be our executive director of the Dallas Port. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Andrea Kloss, Port of the Dalles. And I have my handy water bottle here with me because I'm battling whatever everybody has. So, I'm here tonight because the port is looking for partnerships with the city and county around the National Scenic Area. And it's the National Scenic Area Management Plan update that I'm referring to. The policies set in place that are gonna be in effect for the next 20, 30, maybe 50 years are gonna affect us for that time, and we really need to look ahead to the future to make sure that those policies are good and meaningful for us. Unfortunately, what I see is that the current policy direction, there's no meaningful growth for urban areas. Mayor Mays and Steve Harris have been attending the Gorge Commission meetings, and along with the county and the port, just really to understand what's going on and to hear what the commission is saying. There's also been a number of community members who have participated in workshops to give our input on a variety of topics. But we're now nearing the end of that management plan update, and it's vitally important for the future of the Dalles, the port, and the county that we're actively engaged in this discussion. Now, I know Mayor Mays has talked to each of you about the urban growth boundary, and the Gorge Commission is giving you some updates, but I just want to give you some reminders. So the act was created in 1986, and this is the first time the management plan has been updated. So if we look at this time period and we look ahead to the future, again, you can see the policies that are set in place today are really going to be impacting our future. As part of the update plan, the Gorge Commissioners have been reviewing the urban area boundary and the economic development sections of the plan. And these are the other purpose of the act. One purpose of the act is protection of the scenic area, but the second has to do with urban areas and economic vitality. At the most recent urban area workshop, which was actually in August of 2019, there's some policy concepts that were brought forward, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of them. One of them is that urban areas could enter into a land trade of 1% of the existing urban area, or 20 acres, whichever is less, once. For the Dalles, Steve Harris and I were doing some quick calculations in the meeting, and 1% of the current Dalles urban area is 40 acres. So that means that would be half of even that 1%. Another point they brought up is that urban areas looking to expand would need to identify regional solutions to accommodate long-range growth, both population and economic growth. And the outcome could be that no boundary revision would be necessary if it was deemed that growth could be accommodated elsewhere, even across state lines. So this really has to do with looking at Dallasport as our area to grow. Another policy item that was brought up is that existing urban areas need to look at infill first before urban boundary expansion happens. which is good planning policy, but the question is, who determines when enough is enough? And how does this affect the character of our community? All of these policy discussions appear to be gaining traction with many of the seated board commissioners, especially the 1% or 20-acre one-time expansion. So why am I here? So the Port Commission feels this is very important that we're engaged now in these conversations that are going on, and we have budgeted $50,000 to bring on some legal land use expertise and a rare planner. So I'm coming to you to look for $50,000 as a contribution. I've also been to the county. They have agreed contingent on the city contributing, and then also a defined proposed scope of work. I have come up with a rough budget based on some numbers that I received from legal counsel and knowing what a rare planner would cost. But the details will be refined once I know that the city and the county are partners and I know what that budget is. This is very much an economic development effort for all of us. We need to be engaged in speaking with a unified voice to protect the character of our community, to sustain our economic and protect our future ability to grow. If the council was agreeable to this, it could be set up on a reimbursement not to exceed $50,000. And the port, which would be the main point person, we could submit reimbursement requests monthly or quarterly as it would work best for you. So in conclusion, because we do not know when the next scenic area management plan update might happen, it's very important that we being the city, the county, and the port participate now to make sure that our views are heard. The Gorge Commission will be making policy choices that could limit economic opportunities and limit communities' ability to grow. We have a common goal of making sure we protect our right to expand the urban area when there is a justifiable need. We need to do this to keep our economy growing and to meet Oregon land use planning goals. The current direction of the Commission could prevent this from happening. We want to advocate for good policy choices for urban area economic vitality, sustainability, and responsible growth, and we will be stronger working together than individually. Thank you.
Questions for Andrea?
No questions.
Where would the growth be? Is there a plan?
Is there a plan for the Dalles where would growth be, or is there a plan generally where would growth be?
No, for the Dalles.
Yeah, and so, Commissioner Miller, I think that Councilor Miller, sorry, the message I'm trying to bring forward is that we need to protect our right to be able to make that decision in the future. I can't project where that might be or how much we might need because we're, in the middle of those studies right now. But again, the way I see the Commission heading is that they want to really restrict our ability to grow ever. And since we don't know what our need is, I just want to make sure that that door is kept open for us when we do know what that need might be.
Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Councilor Long Curtis.
So, this issue, I think, is absolutely essentially vital to our city. And we haven't talked about it as a council really in depth. And since we know now that the timing is getting short, I mean, we've heard for many, many years now that someday we were gonna have to face this, and I think someday is now. So I think that Andrea's proposal to get out in front of it and get some representation is good, but I think we also need to know what we as city council would like that representation to be. So I would propose that we have a work session on this.
I think that's, I for one think that's a great idea. Any other comments and questions?
Well, I'm in favor of getting expectations into place so that we can make further growth and not be restricted in the future. So I'm in favor of this proposal.
You're in favor of having the work session or in favor
Both.
of 50,000?
Work session to discuss and the movement forward in order to, well, we would have to go through budget process in order to, correct?
Yeah, City Manager.
Thank you. We can include it in the budget and say that that's our commitment, that will match what the county and the port are putting in. Or we feel very comfortable that we have a very healthy contingency that if the money's needed now, particularly the way it was phrased by Andrea, that it could be as needed and up to a specific amount, that would make me very comfortable if you wanted us to come back with a resolution to do it this budget year. We're comfortable with that. Angie's comfortable with that, she's nodding. And I think that it's important to make that decision tonight so that the court leaves knowing where our commitment is, and then schedule the workshop to talk about the council's application, so we can just continue to move forward.
Mayor?
Councilor Brown.
Not a real fan of these work sessions, but it seems like it's maybe a little bit premature for a work session, because we really don't know what the boundaries are, or where, I mean, it's, I don't know, I can't see what we have to talk about that would
Well, I for one
mean
would,
anything.
I think that a work session would be good to the extent that, number one, the staff could update us on the status of the economic opportunity analysis that's going on right now, which has a direct effect on the subject at hand. And I would, you know, being more youth than most others here, I would be interested in the history of even going back to 1986, is it? Going back to 1986 as to what happened. My understanding is about 5 or 6 years ago, the city submitted a proposal to the Gorge Commission that was rejected. I'd like to know more about that and why it was rejected, and we'll get a little more history on the subject. So that's kind of where I'm.
I'm all for supporting your report in this endeavor. Maybe don't agree with the direction you wanna take the rest of it, it's all right.
Anybody else? Councilor Rennan?
I would just say, as a former port commissioner of 8 years, that this is a discussion we have as a port commission every year. And the meetings are with the Gorge Commission are always interesting. Glad to see the mayor taking a voice in those meetings as well, and Steve Harris, of course. So I'm in favor of this moving forward. If we're able to do it in this budget year, the city manager will come back with the pros and cons of that, but I'm in favor of moving forward to get that information back.
I was on the losing end of a suggestion 9 months ago or so, regarding whether or not to take a certain expenditure out of the present budget or the future budget. And I just wanted to reiterate that I would be in favor of doing it this year, only because that's $50,000 that we have to worry about next year that we don't have to worry about. That could be dedicated towards some other needed expenditure or some other needed cause. So I'd just like to have the council, if you would, please think about, you know, the timing of such a donation. So I've heard some, I've heard a notion to go ahead and approve the $50,000 now and then schedule the work session, or go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor McLaughlin?
Oh, well, 2 issues. One for approving a gathering or a meeting. That's great, but I think I would rather see the monies taken, if we can, this budget year in order to move this forward as quickly as we can.
Time is of the essence in this.
It seems that way, and I want to support this effort.
Did you want to say something else?
No.
To my point, the city manager is willing to come back with the information and so forth, and bring back a resolution and alternatives, et cetera, and that's the way to go. If there's consensus, Mr. Mayor, to go forward with that, and we'll deal with it as it comes to us in written form.
Agreed.
You mean the $50,000?
Yeah.
Is our next council meeting? Did you want to say something?
Well, I was gonna ask a question. I was asking if that was rather than making a motion tonight, since the city manager already said that we'll have the contingency.
We are planning to bring a budget resolution to the next council meeting anyway, so we can add that in and give the justification at the same time if you're comfortable.
I am.
Is our next meeting?
Yes, we had some other things to bring.
Okay, what about the work session?
We'll have the city clerk poll the council and find an appropriate time sooner rather than later.
Okay.
To give us a little bit of time to prepare some information for you.
Okay, is there any more discussion about this issue? think we have a consensus to move ahead with the resolution that will be presented to the city council at the next meeting. And, thank you very much for coming before us. Is there any other questions for Andrea before she goes to the hospital?
I think you all have my email or my phone number, so if you have more questions, just give me a call. But thank you so much for your support. I do believe time is of the essence. The train is moving down the tracks, and we just wanna make sure it's going in the right direction, so, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not later appear on the agenda. 5 minutes per person will be allowed. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker will be referred to the city manager for further action. The issue may appear on a future meeting agenda for city council consideration. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council for up to 5 minutes?
Carter says I can go first. Rarely being the voice of brevity, I gave something I said and pass out to all of you. And it goes something like this. Dear Mayor, City Council members, and City Manager, I have most excellent news on a variety of opportunities for our great city. I attended the Oregon Main Street networking event on Thursday and Friday of last week, and presentations were given by 8 different agencies, where they talked about their missions and various funding sources that they encourage us to take advantage of. In fact, they said, not enough people are asking for this money, come and get it, we wanna spend it on. Many grants are available from Discover Oregon, Oregon Main Street, Oregon Parks and Rec, Oregon Transportation, Historic Theater grants, and more. The Dallas Main Street program can source grants directly as part of our focus on downtown vitality. And we can aid other organizations in grant proposal writing to achieve improvement goals outside of the historic downtown area. We see about $1 to $3 million in grants flowing into town in just the next 2 years. And those are the easy ones to get. There's other ones from the state as well as other private sources. The Dallas Main Street is on a mission to collaborate with organizations and citizens throughout the area to make the Dalles the best place to live, work, and play. Or play, whatever combination you like. We're already collaborating with the city, the Chamber of Commerce, the Dalles Arts Center, various businesses and volunteers and sponsors to effect positive changes in the services, products, and experiences we can enjoy individually and together. Example, we have huge plans for a festival September 2021 with the Wall Dogs Mural Painting Festival. We're cooperating with various organizations to execute month-long series of events as well in March, July, October, and December every year going forward. So anybody who wants to contact the Dallas Main Street so that we can get together, work together to put on these events to encourage vitality downtown across the area and bring more visitors to town, give us a shot. You can go to our website, thedallasmainstreet.org, to get there. One of the greatest things we've all worked on so far, and quite recently, quite well together over the last 3 months, is to bring a win for the small business revolution. How about that? Winning means we'll get an investment of $500,000 over the course of an 8-episode TV series airing in October 2020. Tomorrow is the big reveal. I'm trying not to be overly excited. Someone told me if you get to 1,000% excitement, the red button pops out and you're done. So I'm at 982. So come on down, bring all your friends to the watch party. It's at the Civic tomorrow night. Tuesday evening starts at 3:30, so come early, mingle. There's a no-host bar, there'll be some snacks and some food. Talk to your neighbors about how much fun it's been so far to get all this excitement and buzz going. Just as an aside, I've heard from people that are in their 70s and 80s that have lived in this town their entire life, and they say, I've never seen the town so alive and working so well together just because of this possibility. Heartwarming. So come on down early, watch some videos, watch pictures of yourselves and your friends flash by on the screen in a nice little slideshow, and we'll find out if we win. The announcement's going to be at 5. It'll be a live feed off of Small Business Revolution's Facebook page, and we'll have a few videos running up to that off their site. But regardless of the outcome, we're already winners. We've accomplished a lot getting into the top 10 and the final 5. Now we gotta find out if we actually won this thing. We've proven to ourselves that we can work together as one town and one team. And we'll all have numerous opportunities to keep the great partnership and buzz going. Thank you very much for your attention and participation, council members, mayor, city manager, everybody here, and everybody that can listen to this. Woohoo! Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Warren?
Mr. Warren? Thank you very much. Mr. Warren?
Thank you.
Mr. Warren? 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 Mr
I'm just gonna make a comment. I know that, there's relatives of people that live here, that they live in Pennsylvania and they voted every day.
Yay!
And I know people that have recently moved, but they live in Camas, they voted every day, so.
Yep, they were a runner-up last year in Camas, and so we got lots of good support. That was the other thing that I heard at the Main Street Conference when I introduced myself. I'm Don Moran from the Dalles. Everyone turned around and said, "We voted for you, we're behind you all the way." And Councilmember Tim, he sent out an email to 1 million YMs across the country and the world. I heard that MCMC had a link on their main page that everybody internally lands on to get started. And I've talked to a variety of other businesses in town that do the same thing. Everybody I see and show my hat to says, "Yeah, I voted every day." So it's just made me really happy.
I have one comment.
Yeah, Councilor McLaughlin?
Woo-hoo!
Thank you, Don. Is there anyone else who would like to address the city council? Anybody? Okay. We'll now move to reports. First is the city manager report.
I do not have a report tonight.
Second is the city attorney report.
On February 24th, I've asked for an executive session, in part to address current litigation, including litigation involving George Aviation Services. We're going to have Craig Russillo, who's the lead attorney, and his associate Emily Burton, I believe her name is. And we also will probably be talking about other litigation to advise the council, and assuming, depending on your decision tonight about the proposed contract, we'll probably be inviting our new attorneys, assuming that you approve that contract, so they can be part of the discussion and be brought up to speed.
Is that it?
That, and I'm just continuing to get ready for the big, the big day, and winding up and finishing what I can so that presumably Kristen and Diana won't be too upset with what they'll be facing, so.
We have not approved the contract.
That's
yet.
true, that's true. Assuming you.
But we're optimistic. Okay, of course, our city attorney is referring to his last day of March 1st, actually.
March 2nd.
March 2nd, for his well-deserved retirement. Okay, next is city council reports. We'll start with Councilor Miller.
Okay, because I haven't been to a planning commission meeting for several years, I went to one the other night. I also, the Urban Renewal Agency meeting on the 21st, and the Dallas Sister City, meeting on the 23rd.
Thank you. Councilor McLaughlin.
I attended the Main Street kickoff party at the National Sign Museum and was impressed with just the number of people that gathered for that event. Win or lose, we still come out better as a result of this effort. I attended the annual The Dallas Chamber Recognition Banquet, and I was personally honored to present the Man of the Year Award to Jim Wilcox. I attended the Urban Renewal meeting last Wednesday. The Tony's Building and Recreation were reviewed and moving forward. Got a couple questions to Public Works. Mr. Anderson, where do we stand on the Dog River project?
Would you like an answer?
Yes.
Yeah, we all would.
We're still expecting a final decision on the environmental permitting in June of this year. So that will allow us to issue an RFP and go into design if we're able to maintain that schedule.
So we're still moving forward.
Still moving forward.
How is the project in Second and Cherry Heights shaping up?
We're just about completed our in-house design of that project, and we'll be going out for a bid for construction, probably within the next month and a half.
Excellent. And for the police department, Chief Ashmore, where are we on body cameras?
We implemented the body cameras in August of 2019, and they're on all the officers, and they 24/7, and everything is stored in data, and they're working great.
They're meeting expectations?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Brown.
I do stuff, but it'd be pretty boring, so I have no report.
Okay. Councilor Lon Curtis.
So I just wanted to mention at the Urban Renewal meeting that we also accepted a settlement from the insurance company, even though they had determined that that it wasn't a covered incident, they still made us an offer, and we did accept that, so that will help mitigate some of the additional costs I'm sure people are worried about with the recreation. And we also, as Tim said, we're moving forward with that, but we approved an addendum for the recreation so that there could be some changes and they could still meet their timeline with urban enrollment. On the homelessness issue, the Housing Solutions Coalition met, and I attended that meeting just to find out where they were at. They have a Winter Community Connection event coming up this Thursday at the Civic from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that is to connect our social service workers with homeless people and provide them supplies that they need as well. In addition, some of you may have already heard, but our warming shelter is now open every night through the end of the season, regardless of the temperature. I did attend the Distinguished Citizens Banquet, and I actually really enjoyed that it was a combination, and they added the MCMC Philanthropy Awards as well. And at Q Life, we approved our officer slate, which we kept the same as last year. So Scott Hagee from the county continues to be the president, and I am the vice president, and Lee Weinstein is the secretary. And we appointed our budget officer because, of course, that's coming up as well. And we talked with the PUD about poll charges. We have some things coming up on our agenda for another approval for someone else, and it's just an issue that's been going on with the PUD. We're getting that worked out, and we continue our build outs in Lone Pine and LaPorte. And I think that's it.
Okay. Before we move to Council Runyon, I just want to point out I also was at the Chamber banquet and they gave a welcoming address, but the reason that Councilor McLaughlin gave the Man of the Year award to Jim Wilcox was because Tim McLaughlin was the Man of the Year last year. So, okay, Council Runyon?
Attended about four of these Small Business Revolution voting parties, Chamber Annual Banquet, Columbia Gorge Veterans Museum Board, Outside the Wire Veterans Board. I went to observe the Urban Renewal meeting, and I'm also on the Q Life Internet Agency Board, and was proud to offer the motion to re-elect the slate, which included the vice chair of Q Life, and she's real happy about that, I know. And for the rest of my report, I'm going to ask for some help from the mayor.
Thank you, Council Runyon. In 2017, the Bend, Oregon Heroes Foundation petitioned the Oregon State Legislature to designate 451 miles of Highway 20 as the Medal of Honor Highway, much like Interstate 84 is listed as the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Highway. Additionally, through the same foundation, the state legislature named 12 population centers as having been recognized as Medal of Honor cities or communities. Recently, McMinnville was added as the 13th Medal of Honor city. In all, 30 Oregonians are Medal of Honor recipients dating back to the Civil War. The Dalles is on that list of 13 cities. In fact, our community has 2 Medal of Honor recipients, Harry D. Fadden of the United States Navy and Lauren R. Kaufman of the United States Army. Council Runyon?
If you'll join me up here, that would be great. This is going to be my Vanna White. All right, got it? I'm going to let go. Okay. The Dells is pleased to have, not pleased, but honored to have 2 Medal of Honor recipients over time. The first was in 1903. Harry Delmar Fadden, born September 17th, 1882. He passed away in 1955 in February. He was a sailor in the United States Navy who received the United States' highest award for bravery, the Medal of Honor. In 1898, Fadden joined the U.S. Navy, and before his 18th birthday, he had served in the Spanish-American War, the Philippine-American War, the Boxer Rebellion, and while in the Navy, Fadden's commanding officers noticed that he would like to read, and so they encouraged him to learn. From there, he went aboard the USS Adams. He was sent on a training cruise off the coast of California. Fadden was aboard as a member of the crew. By June 30th, 1903, they had been at sea for 2 days,
And Landsman O.C. Hawthorne was a newcomer to that ship. Fadden was standing on the deck and had watched Hawthorne as he climbed a ladder to his station above. When the ship suddenly lurched, as it was about to make a turn, Hawthorne was thrown from his position, hit his head on the railing before landing unconscious in the shark-infested water. On seeing his crewmate fall overboard, Fadden, without any thought to his own personal safety, immediately jumped in after him. He swam to Hawthorne, held his head above water since he still had not regained consciousness. Fadden continued holding the unconscious sailor until the Adams was able to turn back for them, and for his actions he received the Medal of Honor. He was a recipient on July 31 of 1903. He died in 1955 in Seattle, Washington. He's interred at Evergreen Washelli Memorial Park beside his wife Nellie. Loren Kaufman, another one. More people probably know about Mr. Kaufman. In fact, I was on a team a few years, not that many years ago, where we petitioned and finally were successful in renaming the VA clinic up by the Veterans Home as the Loren Kaufman Clinic. Loren Kaufman, born in July of 1923, passed away in February of '51. He was a soldier in the United States Army during the Korean War. Received the Medal of Honor for his actions on 4 and 5 September 1950 during the Battle of Yongsan. He was later killed in action before being awarded the Medal of Honor, and he's buried at Willamette National Cemetery. Kaufman joined the Army from his birthplace the week after the attack on Pearl Harbor, served in North Africa and Europe during World War II, actually. He distinguished himself by conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty in action. On the night of 4 September, the company was in a defensive position on 2 adjoining hills, his platoon occupying a strong point 2 miles away, protecting the battalion flank. And early on 5 September, the company was attacked by an enemy battalion and his platoon was ordered to reinforce the company. As his unit moved along a ridge, it encountered a hostile encircling force, and Sergeant First Class Kaufman, running forward, bayoneted the lead scout and engaged the column in a rifle and grenade assault. His quick and vicious attack so surprised the enemy that they retreated in confusion. When his platoon joined the company, he discovered that the enemy had taken commanding ground and pinned the company down in a draw. And without hesitation, Sergeant First Class Kaufman again charged the enemy, firing his rifle and throwing grenades. And during that action, he bayoneted 2 enemy and, seizing an unmanned machine gun, delivered deadly fire on the defenders. Following this encounter, the company regrouped and resumed the attack. Leading the assault, he reached the ridge, destroyed a hostile machine gun position, and routed the remaining enemy. Pursuing the hostile troops, he bayoneted 2 more and then rushed a mortar position, shooting the gunners. Remnants of the enemy fled to a village, and Sergeant First Class Kaufman led a patrol into town, dispersed them, and burned the buildings. The dauntless courage and resolute, intrepid leadership of Sergeant First Class Kaufman, directly responsible for the success of his company in regaining its positions, reflecting distinct credit upon himself and upholding the esteemed traditions of military service. Quite a story. The Bend Heroes Foundation in 2017, as the mayor said, got a resolution passed in the House of Representatives, HCR 1, and the Dalles was included along with the naming of Highway 20 as the Medal of Honor highway. The Dalles was included as one of 12 communities that are Medal of Honor cities. A 13th was named not very long ago, and that was McMinnville. All right. There is no cost to the Dalles. The Bend Heroes Foundation provided these pictures and the copies of the certificates. All they ask is that we put it in a very public place to be seen by as many as possible. We've talked a little bit about that, but haven't narrowed that down, except that it's going to be here in City Hall someplace. And there's some talk too of possibly at times either making copies or loaning them out to the Gorge Veterans Museum or the Discovery Center, that kind of thing. But copies might be the way to go in that case. But those things will all be decided. But it's quite an honor for us to be recognized. It's 2 years coming from when we were first notified in 2017 for this to get done. And it's really a great second step by the Bend Heroes Foundation. So we're gonna lay these on the table back here to my left, and before you all leave at the end of our meeting, if you stay that long, or before our meeting's over, don't be afraid to walk over and take a look at it. You may not want to stay all the way till we're done, but we'd like you to take a look at it close up and personal, and then hopefully by our next meeting, we'll figure out where we're going to put them. Thank you. Thank you, Council, for your time.
Thank you, Council Lyman. Okay, next we have the consent agenda. Items of a routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to allow the City Council to spend its time and energy on the important items and issues. Any councilor may request that an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of action items section. There's only one item on the consent agenda, and that is the approval of the minutes from January 13th. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 is the cirrhosis reservoir issue that we've just added to the agenda.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, first of all, I want to thank you for your willingness to consider this issue on short notice. I apologize for that, but we've been developing the information related to this issue pretty diligently, and we're trying to keep the contractor moving forward and meet some schedule obligations that they've got. The issue before you is related to some repairs that are needed for the cirrhosis reservoir. This is a 3 million gallon steel reservoir that is located behind Cirrhosis Park. The work that's underway was to paint the interior of the reservoir and to install some seismic improvements and upgrades inside the tank, which were pretty minor in nature. During the work, because this reservoir hasn't been painted on the interior for over 50 years, we've identified some issues that need to be repaired. The first issue that we found was that the pipes that are located underneath the reservoir and feed the water into and out of the reservoir are leaking. And if we're allowed to continue to leak, they're going to deteriorate foundation material under the reservoir, and the reservoir will eventually fail. We have developed a solution to repair that, working with both the painting contractors, the prime contractor, and their subcontractor that was in charge of doing the metal work. That subcontractor's company name is P.W. Berry. They are experienced in doing these types of repairs. They've actually just completed some real similar work for the city of Gresham. What it'll take to repair this is to excavate back under the tank a few feet. Unfortunately, the pipes are located near the outer perimeter of the tank. Cut out the floor of the tank, install new pipes, replace the floor section, and then move forward with the painting. The city had conducted a study in 2014 and 2015 to do an evaluation about the seismic vulnerability of our existing reservoirs. And so from that study, there were certain improvements that were recommended to make our reservoirs more resistant to earthquake. Some of those improvements include adding connections to the piping system to allow them to flex and expand and contract during an earthquake. Since we have these pipes dug up at this time, it would make sense to make those seismic improvements as part of this project. We've gotten a cost from P.W. Berry to do this work. Their Estimate to do the cost is $86,741.44. We'll be asking for the council's authorization to do a contract amendment tonight to, allow for the funding of the, needed to make the repairs to the leaking pipes. As I provided in this report and also a memorandum previously provided to the council, we also have some issues of metal deterioration up in the roof structure. This is just it's a deterioration and loss of the metal due to rusting that's occurred over that 50-year period. We are still in the process of working with the contractor and the engineers for the project, which is Jacobs Engineering, to develop the solutions for that. So we will be coming back to you again, hopefully at the next meeting, if we have the information pulled together in time, asking for authorization for a second contract amendment to fund those needed repairs as well. Within Fund 53, which is the Capital Water Reserve Fund, we do have over $5 million accrued for the Dog River Pipeline. And since the schedule for that pipeline has slipped a year since that project was, or since when that budget was developed, we can use the money, the $86,000 that we need for these repairs from that accumulated $5 million, and it won't adversely affect our schedule or funding for the Dog River Pipeline. We'll just replace it in the next budget. And so with that, staff's recommendation is the council authorize an amendment to contract number 2017-003 to replace the inlet and outlet pipes of the Cirrhosis Reservoir and install seismic connections on each of those pipes for an amount not to exceed $86,741.44.
Questions for our Public Works Director? Do I hear a motion?
I can make a motion. Mayor Mays, I move to authorize an amendment to contract number 2017-003 to replace the inlet and outlet pipes of the Cirrhosis Reservoir and install seismic connections on each for an amount not to exceed $86,741.44.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Will this be the first tank that is seismic upgrades?
This will be the first tank that will receive the seismic upgrades to its piping. We did the interior seismic upgrades to Columbia View when we painted it a couple years ago. And the internal modifications are pretty minor. There's the overflow pipe inside the tank extends up near the top of the tank, so it's full height. And one of the upgrades was just to add more bracing to those vertical pipes. And the other upgrade that occurred inside the tank is those overflow pipes extended pretty close to the ceiling, so we didn't have much free span or clear space above the water level between there and the ceiling. It was recommended that we cut those overflow pipes down a little bit lower, give us more slosh space in the case of an earthquake. If you don't have enough space, the tank gets to moving, the water gets to sloshing, it hits the ceiling of the tank and knocks the tank over. So those were the two upgrades that we did on Columbia View, and we've already completed for Cirrhosis as well. Or we're completing now as part of the internal work for Cirrhosis.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor of the motions, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you
very much. Item 12A is an ordinance granting a non-exclusive franchise for a telecommunication-based service facility. And our city attorney will be handling this.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. My office was recently approached by representatives from a company called Woden LLC, who's actually a company formed in Delaware, but they have an office in Hood River, and they were requesting the city consider a franchise for telecommunication-based services. This company recently got a certificate from the Public Utility Commission to provide what they summarize as intrastate, inter-exchange, switch telecommunication service, and non-switch private line service. In their application, they indicate that they're primarily in the business of reselling the services of other certified carriers. They also provided me with some information about their business model. They focus on serving rural population centers in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. They propose to permit and build and maintain telecommunications infrastructure and then lease the space to other service providers, and with the hope of lessening the capital costs to help those carriers provide the service. They're not considered an end service or end user service provider, but they act in partnership with other telecommunications service providers, and they're requesting permission to install their equipment and fiber in our right of way. We've adopted or prepared this ordinance based on other similar ordinances we've had with other similar companies, much of the same terms. It's a 10-year franchise with the option to renew, I believe, for a 5-year period, if I recall correctly. It has many of the same terms we've given to other providers. Staff's recommendation is that you approve the ordinance. We have posted the ordinance in accordance with the city charter, so you can adopt it by title only if you're inclined to do that. And I think we may have representatives from the company here that are going to be here. I don't know if they are here, actually, Mr. Larson, or they didn't show up.
There's no representative here from
I thought they were going to come tonight, but maybe they're able to make it.
Okay. Any questions for the city attorney? Councilor Runyon?
It was brought up earlier tonight, and this is where I asked Gene this offline, just not to surprise him and whatnot, but it was brought up, the city is moving towards going underground with its utilities and whatnot, and is there a codicil within this contract that lets them know that
There is on
take care of that?
I can get the page number here to the top of the page.
Page 2 of 10.
Yeah, at the bottom of page 2 and top of page 3, we have a provision the city can give notice to this franchisee, and this is also in our other franchises like this, of 120 days notice of the need to relocate or remove facilities, in part due to our operations or in the public interest. It's my opinion that either of those, if we instruct them that they need to move their facilities underground, we can rely on that and give them notice, and they will do that at their expense. And again, that's in our other franchises with like Zayo and Lightspeed Networks. And so I believe we're covered there.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
Yeah. And Julie had brought that to my attention, so I looked at it to be sure, but I'm confident that protects us if and when we ever go underground, if they already haven't put their facilities underground, we can direct them to do that.
Thank you. Any other councilor comments or questions? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council about this issue? With that, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Would anybody in the council desire to have the ordinance read in full?
No.
That was unanimous. Okay. Can I ask the city clerk to please read the title?
Special ordinance number 20-585, granting a non-exclusive franchise and right to Woden LLC to construct, operate, and maintain the telecommunications-based service facilities, to occupy city rights-of-way, and provide telecommunication-based services in the city of The Dalles.
Motion?
I'll move to adopt special ordinance number 20-585, granting a non-exclusive franchise and right to Woden LLC to construct, operate, and maintain telecommunication-based service facilities, and to occupy city rights-of-way and provide telecommunication-based services in the city of The Dalles.
I'll second. Oh, by title.
I wasn't sure.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 12B is approval of an agreement to provide legal services to the city. This will be handled by our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. As you all know, following our city attorney recruitment and being unsuccessful, the city council decided to take a different direction and look at outside legal services for the city. So we prepared a request for qualifications, and that went out. We received 2 proposals, one from a local firm, one from a out-of-town firm. And so the same team who was kind of like the subcommittee to review the city attorney applications met, and we reviewed both proposals and there was a unanimous recommendation to support Campbell Phillips as our legal services. They are the local firm who bid, and then we had a meeting with them and asked a lot of questions and got to know them a little bit. And we unanimously recommended, and it's my recommendation, that that is the firm that we hire. Under budget implications, you'll see the staff report, it lays out the basic fees. And I invited Kristen Campbell and Diana McDougall to be here tonight so that you can be introduced to them. And if you have specific questions of them, then I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. The plan is if it gets approved that we'll begin the transition immediately because we're running out of time and we need to give them as much time as possible to immerse themselves in the city's biz.
Could we ask the two of you to have a seat? I'd like to acknowledge that the other members of the committee were Councilor Linda Miller and Councilor Russ Brown. We appreciate their service to the committee and all the work you do. Thank you. Does anybody have any specific questions for Diana or Kristen? Maybe for the benefit of the audience, you could just briefly give a little bit of background about yourself and your law practice, and start with Diana.
Sure. I have been immersed in municipal work for just a few years, been practicing law since 2012. I went to school in Seattle, practiced in Portland, practiced in Seattle, and then my husband and I were fortunate enough to have an opportunity to relocate to Columbia River Gorge. And since I came back here, that's when my municipal practice commenced. I joined Kristen Campbell and Tiffany Phillips at Campbell Phillips in October of 2019, so just about 4 months ago now. And we're just really excited about the opportunity to serve as the city's attorney.
Kristen?
Hi, Kristen Campbell. I have been practicing attorney for 19 years of which with a focus on municipal law, public sector in general. Started my practice in Michigan and transitioned here about 6 years ago. Have done work for Wasco County, so I've had the opportunity to become immersed in the community and enjoyed that so much that a year ago myself and my law partner opened a law firm in the Dells. That's Tiffany Phillips. She's a long time, actually born and raised in the Dells. We're very excited about this opportunity. We also, within the last year, had the incredible opportunity to also bring on Jim Foster to our law firm, who brings, I don't know, at least 30 years of public sector experience as well. So we're excited to introduce this team, and if the council votes in favor, we're prepared to and excited to start with as much overlap with Attorney Parker as possible.
Right. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments at this point?
Councilor Runyon.
Just that in Kristen's previous law firm she was with before striking out on her own, I had the pleasure to work with her and just did an exemplary job for Wasco County, and that's her knowledge of municipal laws is, as she says, that's been her main practice all the time that she's been in the business pretty much. And then Diana McDougall, when I was chair of Norcor, Will Carey passed away sadly, but Diane was working in that firm at that time, and she walked right in and picked up and went right to work. And she's a very serious person when it comes to the law. So I totally vouch for both these. I think it's a great move, and their other partners that they have in the firm, attorneys and legal staff, I think they're going to do just a great job.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, I was hesitant about having an outside law firm to do our legal services. But after meeting with the two of you and Jim, I'm fully on board. I was very impressed.
Councilor McLaughlin?
I need, based on the possible perception of conflict of interest, I recuse myself from any discussions or decisions pertaining to this item number 11B or C.
Yeah, I did mention before that Councilor Miller and Brown served on the committee, and also, I was remiss in not mentioning our city manager Julie Kruger and our city attorney Gene Parker, who were also, members of the committee as well. We thank you for your help very much. Okay, anything else on this?
Motion.
Do I hear a motion?
I would be very honored to make that motion, Mr. Mayor. I'd like us to, the city council to approve the staff recommendation, move to approve a professional services agreement with Campbell Phillips PC to provide legal services for the city of the Dalles.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this agreement. Is there any more discussion? Let the record show that we have one abstention. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and I think I speak for everyone when I tell you that we're looking forward to working with you a lot, and we appreciate you coming here tonight. And appreciate your future service.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Correction, it's not an abstention, it's recusing yourself. from-
Recusing yourself.
It's too different. It is different.
What's different?
We talked about it.
Well, I
She's
researched.
asking what's different.
Are you voting yea or nay?
A recusal is no participation during the decision-making process or a final vote.
That's okay.
And then the abstention is if you have been absent from previous, or you don't have enough information, then you abstain, or sometimes in controversial. I just looked it up in Webster, and they did a discussion on the difference between the two, so.
It's an abstention according to Robert's rules of order.
All right, that's fine.
That's what we're listed as.
Okay, any more discussion on this? Okay, is there any more business to come before the city council? Well, I'll just have to have this meeting adjourned. Thank you.